Hey, hey, hey. Time for the Out of This World story from our space. You would think that a person who got caught cheating would regard their bridge back to you to be burned to a crisp, exploded, and napalmed. How can anyone ever imagine facing the person they hurt in that situation again? Today on our space, this cheater comes crawling back. Wife abandoned me for a younger man. 6 years later, came back to me with 2 kids, pleading for forgiveness. It's not about something that is happening to me now, but something which happened 6 years ago. My first wife, Lisa, who had abandoned me for a younger man, now showed up after 6 years. I'm 41, a married man with a gorgeous daughter who is about to turn 1 in a few months. The story is of my early 30s when I was married to my first wife, Lisa. I was 29 when I first met Lisa, who was 23 at the time. We met at a party and hit it off. She was just starting her career as a fashion designer, while I was setting foot as a new entrepreneur after working in software for 5 years. My company was not flourishing in a way that I was making millions a month, but it is doing fairly well as a newbie. The revenue was decent for me to put up a good life. It was a long time ago, so I don't remember the exact details properly. But after a few months of dating, Lisa moved in with me at my apartment. I was living alone. She was a charming woman. Now, when I look back, I think the primary reason why I fell for her was because of her personality. She was an extrovert and drop-dead gorgeous. Even on our first encounter at the party, I noticed her because she was a head-turner. Yeah, you may call me shallow for saying this, but when you were young, 29 was still young than 41, duh. You probably don't have that maturity, and you pay for it later, like the way I did. We dated for 2 years, and then got married at a lavish ceremony. Yeah, Lisa wanted a fairy tale wedding. She had a thing for perfection. She wanted a dream wedding, which she had meticulously planned ever since she was a little girl. I remember this because it was a dent in my pocket, but I didn't realize it back then. I was too busy being the perfect boyfriend, husband to Lisa. It was a smooth ride for the first 2 years. I don't remember having any major fights during that period. Problems started somewhere after our second anniversary when Lisa started acting differently after she joined a master's program in fashion. She was aspirational about working in Hollywood, or at least for a television house. In college, she met a young crowd who were in their early 20s with no work experience. They were young and raw, and that's what excited Lisa. She was mesmerized by their carefree lifestyle. She started saying that she married early and all that. Initially, I brushed it off as a temporary FOMO thing. I thought eventually she would get over it and understand that there were many more valuable things in life beyond rave parties and hookups. Instead of getting over it, she got more involved in it. She started partying late, going hiking, and the endless sleepover nights. Those were my early days of business. I was more focused on tackling my business problems because my personal life was running smoothly. And that's what I thought. It was an 18-month program. I thought she would get over it once the course was over. But even after her post-graduation, she continued with that lifestyle. During that same time, my business suffered some major losses, and I was knee-deep in debt. Instead of supporting me, she sort of mocked me for my rudimentary choice of running a company. She kind of forgot that I was bearing her expenses for all these years while she was in her master's program. Even when she was working before, her income was nothing compared to mine. So I took up the household responsibility alone and let her have that money for herself. There was this guy from her master's who got an assistant job with one of the top designer houses in the town. Lisa was head on heels for this man. She started comparing me with that guy in terms of his early success, his decision-making, and even his sense of humor and physical fitness. Well, I used to work 12 to 14 hours a day to set up my business, and I used to neglect my health at that time. Not recommended, though. I didn't have a toned body with a chiseled jawline, but I was also not overweight. I admit that I used to be too busy and exhausted from work, which she found boring. Eventually, she found solace in that guy. He was an intern and had lots of time to spare with Lisa. He might have had a good sense of humor or whatever else she needed. One day, I came home to find a note on my refrigerator. The words were somewhat like this. "Sorry, I cannot face you, hence this note. I don't love you anymore. I'm moving to LA with Leo, the affair partner. He makes me laugh and happy, which you don't. Don't call me. I'll not answer. I'm gone." These were not the exact words, but more or less the same. I was shattered. My world fell upside down. But that's the thing with bad times. It passes. I started focusing more and more on my business to overcome my personal grief. Actually, it was due to the hard work that I had put in during that time that my business took off so fast. Yeah, it was a blessing in disguise. After 2 years, I met Sophie at a business meeting. We became friends, started dating, and now we are married with a 10-month daughter. Life couldn't be better. Sophie is everything that Lisa was not. She's kind, compassionate, and more importantly, she's my friend. I had forgotten most of the details which I had written until last week. Yes, something had happened last week that brought back all these memories. Lisa showed up. Yes, my first wife, who abandoned me for a young lad, showed up at my office for help. At first, I wasn't able to recognize that she was the same gorgeous Lisa I had known. She looked pale and miserable. She had a 3-year-old daughter and an infant, probably a few months old. I would have denied meeting her if I hadn't spotted her in the waiting area. She looked pitiful. As soon as she entered my cabin, she broke down. Her daughter was still sitting outside in the lobby. She came inside with her infant son. She kept saying sorry and cried like she was in grave pain. It was also very emotional to see her after 6 long years. The last time I saw her, I used to love her, and now I was meeting her as a stranger. Nothing in between. I didn't get the chance to hate her or see the evil side of her. She said she went home, but found that the house was sold. The house in which Lisa and I used to live, I had sold it off. I bought a bigger house with better amenities in a better neighborhood after marrying Sophie, my second wife. Lisa didn't know that I was married. She said Leo was treating her badly after the birth of her daughter. She suspected that he cheated on her while she was pregnant. When she confronted, he belittled and mocked her for her age and fading beauty. He was 6 years younger than her. She struggled to make a decent living and was dependent on him, so she had to put up with his nuisance. She said that it had become pathetic during her second pregnancy and childbirth. Leo didn't even show up at the hospital. She called her cow and other demeaning names such as fat aunt and oldie. She felt humiliated to share the roof with him, and hence she fled back from LA. So basically she abandoned him as well. When Lisa abandoned me, I wished her a miserable life. But when she actually told me how miserable her life was, I was not pleased. I felt bad for her. She went into an apology mode and asked me to forgive her. She said karma had cursed her for hurting me. She said she was young and immature to not differentiate between right and wrong people. I asked her to calm down and said that I had forgiven her and I had moved on. She held my hands on her cheeks and cried hard. She pleaded with me to take her back and promised to be the best wife. I retreated my hand and told her I was married and had a baby. I turned my family photo frame towards her. She grabbed it, looked at it closely, and started crying. I didn't know what to tell her, so I stood quiet. She stood up and said that I was her last hope, but seeing the picture, it looked like she had none. I didn't say anything, and she left. After Lisa left, I immediately called up Sophie and told her everything. I wasn't able to concentrate at work, so I went home early. I was unmistakably sad. Sophie tried to calm me down that I was not the reason for her troubles. She had brought this on herself. I agree. I know Lisa was the cause of her own misery. I thought Lisa would contact me again, but she didn't. I don't know where she is. I know I have moved on. I love Sophie and my daughter, but I couldn't stop thinking about Lisa and the tragedy she is going through. I've been talking about this a lot with Sophie over the last week. I know Sophie is more of a friend than my wife, but I don't want to bother her by repeatedly talking about Lisa. She is a secure woman, yet a human. I don't want her to think that I'm still concerned about Lisa. I have no feelings for Lisa at all, but her sudden appearance out of nowhere, and after knowing her pathetic life, I'm actually disturbed. What happened to her affair after the divorce was not your fault. She made her choices and she needs to take responsibility for those choices. If she ran off with some younger guy thinking that it would be sunshine and rainbows, then that's on her, not you. You moved on. You found your happiness. She's ridiculous to think that you'd ever take her back. She's just really kicking herself for ever letting you go. Update 1. It's been more than 5 months since I posted my story about how my ex-wife, who abandoned me without any explanation, returned to my life and asked me to take her back. After I told her that I had a second wife and daughter now, she left. She didn't contact me again until a few weeks back. She again arrived at my office. I was in a meeting when my assistant dropped a note that I had a visitor named Lisa. It was an important meeting, but after hearing her name, I couldn't focus further on my work. I closed the meeting and went to meet her. Lisa looked even more pathetic than last time. She said she was distraught to know that I was married, so she went back to Leo. She tried to give it another shot with Leo, but she was getting worse every day. She recently discovered that he was sleeping with other women from his work. When she confronted him about the cheating, he admitted to having multiple hookups because Lisa wasn't that young and attractive to him. She said that things got so worse that he started hitting her and physically assaulted her. Lisa wanted me to help her financially. She said she was looking for a job but didn't find any luck yet. She hasn't worked for the last 3 months after she got pregnant with her first child. The gap in her experience was blocking her from getting a decent job. If all these were not enough, she told me Leo never married her. He didn't believe in it, and he had manipulated her into the same thing that she started seeing in him. That's why she used to call me rudimentary. But now, she regrets her decision because he is not entitled to pay for anything if she gets separated from him. If they were married, she would have got alimony. I asked her how much she wanted. She didn't say anything. I wrote her a check for $30,000. I said this is what I could do for her. She can rent a motel and restart her life. I suggested she take up any other job to sustain her lifestyle, not necessarily into fashion. She thanked me for the money and left. This time, I was reluctant to tell Sophie about meeting Lisa, but after much contemplation, I told her. If she got to know from some other sources, I would strain my relationship. That day, when I went home, Sophie saw me tensed and asked me if something was bothering me. I told her about Lisa asking me for the money. This time, Sophie's reaction was cold. She didn't say anything about the money, but she warned me that it shouldn't become a habit for Lisa to borrow money from me. I didn't get mad at Sophie because I could understand her insecurity. It was quite natural for her to feel so. I assured her that I had no feelings for Lisa and that I had helped her just because she was in a miserable condition. Sophie was a little down, but recovered soon. I think it's wrong of you to take responsibility for someone who is no longer your problem. You have your own life and child to take care of. Update 2. This update is to clarify some of the error going on in the comment section. Some of you said it seemed that I still had feelings for Lisa and that I might take her back or cheat on Sophie with Lisa. No, guys, there is nothing as such. Maybe I was just taken aback by the sudden appearance of Lisa because I had never expected her to show up in that condition. And even in the next morning, I wasn't eager to meet her. I just helped as I would have helped any other person. I might have moved on, but I haven't forgotten how ruthlessly she used to mock me, humiliate me, and then finally abandon me. Especially when I had done so much for her. That was the worst phase of my life. It's not easy to be dumped after 4 years of marriage, so yeah, I'm not going to screw up my beautiful life with Sophie. I'm well aware of drawing my boundaries with Lisa. This is not a backlash on anyone. I just wanted to clarify my stand. We'll update the thread if anything develops. It's a bit hypocritical of you to say you are aware of drawing boundaries with Lisa, and yet you gave her $30,000. Update 3. Thanks for keeping me grounded and in check with your comments. After I posted the clarification here on the last update, I confronted this with Sophie as well. I assured her that I loved her to death and I would never do anything that would ruin my marriage. I know she was a secure woman, but I didn't want her to have any second thoughts about my intentions. I felt so good after opening my heart to her. She said she trusted me, but was also concerned that I might take back Lisa. Sophie was the woman who supported me at my lowest. She was the mother of my daughter. I can never let her down. A week later, I got a message from Lisa asking me to help her out with the renting process of her house. I said I was busy and couldn't help get into these things. She started texting me that she was lonely and that her life had become miserable. So basically, she was trying to play the victim card. Trust me, I ignored her messages as if it was spam. But she didn't get discouraged. She continued. I was surprised to see she was hitting on me, sending me romantic emojis and heart icons. I told her I wasn't comfortable with talking to her and that she should stop doing it. She insisted that we stay in contact as friends. I said I already have a friend at home as Sophie, and I don't need any more. She backed off for a few days, but again forwarded me some romantic posts and reels. I gave her the warning that I would block her if she further sent me that stuff. I told her my wife was not comfortable that I talked to her, and I could not upset her. She stopped it after that. Last week was my anniversary. I planned it extra special this time for Sophie. I booked a surprise trip to the Bahamas. I recorded her reaction when I revealed the location and posted this on social media. I booked a royal suite by the beachside, a candlelight dinner in the woods, a floatal basket buffet on the water, and all those romantic activities in the Caribbean. I'm not usually very active on social media, but this time I posted all these pictures with romantic captions. Yes, to show this to Lisa. I don't care if people call me immature, but I had to do this to keep Lisa in check. She should know that I was very happy with Sophie. And you know what? It worked. After seeing those photographs, Lisa never texted me again. In fact, she unfollowed me from all the social media platforms. I was glad to see her at that. I hope she will stop bothering me now. You fell for her games yet again, and in doing so, you jeopardize your marriage with Sophie. Of course, Lisa would manipulate you and try to bleed you dry. Update 4. Hello, thanks for all the wishes. Yes, the Bahamas was great. For people who have inquired about the trio details, I have shared the itinerary with the cost breakup in a different thread. Link here for people who are interested in this. Talking about my current situation, I was guessing that Lisa would take her clues and would not bother me any further, but I was wrong. Just a few days back, she again showed up at my office. When my assistant informed me about her, I deliberately made her wait for a couple of hours, because for the last 2 times, I met her immediately and thought I might have given her the wrong signal. When I met her, I intentionally acted busy and didn't pay attention to her words. She was again in her sobbing mode that her life was falling apart, she was not able to raise her children properly and that stuff. I asked her to cut to the chase, to the point, because I didn't have the time. Her face turned red, and it was evident that she didn't like the way I spoke to her. She came up with a demand for money. Sophie was right to warn me that Lisa's money request should not become habitual, and I could make sense if it was becoming her habit to ask me, actually not ask. It sounded like a demand. She said she needed a house for at least $100,000. Though I was earning good, a house or even $100,000 was still a big thing for me. I told her I could not give her any house or even that much amount of money. She said that she needs at least $60,000 to $70,000 to start her life again, with buying a house and other utilities and also admitting her children to the school. I don't know if she felt entitled to my money. I said I sympathized with her, but this doesn't mean she can demand anything she wants. I don't owe her anything, right? She's the one who left me for a new, profound lifestyle. I was furious at her demand. I asked her how much she felt entitled to my money and how I was responsible for setting up her life. I have helped her earlier in an act of charity and nothing else. She started crying at the charity remark. I was so done with her drama now. I no longer felt bad for her, yet paid for her way to rent a house, meanwhile search for a job. But she didn't. When she was done crying, she swiftly held my hand and asked, "You didn't mean it, right? The charity thing?" I told her I meant every word I said. It was nothing but charity to me. She sobbed and said, "I know you're lying. You still love me." I shrugged her hand off me and warned her not to touch me ever again. I said I loved no one but Sophie and my daughter. I unleashed my suppressed anger and gave her the lesson of her life. I told her that she was the one who went after a younger Dick and kicked me out of her life. I used to love her dearly, but she belittled my feelings and my emotions. She had made a choice when she chose the affair partner over me, and now she has to live with that. She stood up and said she came to meet me with the hope of getting help, but I was humiliating her. I said I was done with her victim play. I had helped her the best I could. Now she was trying to use me, and I could not be that fool to let her walk all over me every time. I told her that she should be grateful to me that I was talking to her politely and helped her. Had I been any other guy, she would have been kicked out of my office on the very first day she entered. Instead of being thankful, she was being a homewrecker. She was trying to manipulate me and strain my marriage. I'm not a fool to see through her intentions. She stormed out of my office after all this. I yelled at her back, never to show me her face again. She didn't reply, but banged my office door behind her. Misery teaches humility, and I think she hasn't learned that yet. Whatever it is, good for her. As for me, I'm done with her. I've instructed my receptionist desk to not entertain Lisa any further. If she ever tries to step in, she will be denied entry. I have also blocked her access on all platforms. There's no way she can contact me. I have a beautiful life, touch wood, with Sophie and my daughter, and I wouldn't let my past ruin it. Thanks for providing me with this space for venting out. You should have blocked her a long time ago, OP. You really put yourself in a bad place. I mean, bad enough where you made your current wife question you a little bit. You sort of did it to yourself. Lisa had planned on using you all along. What do you make of OP's decision to help Lisa? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today on Our Space. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Catch you later.